So Kimberly, just the order. He'll hand over to Franklin. Franklin, Yash will me, and I'll hand over to you. So when I'm speaking after that, I hand over to you.
Yeah, hi, good evening everyone. Welcome to the post-budget session organized by Research and Ranking. I'm joined by my colleagues from the research team, Franklin, Parvati, Kimberly, and Yash. Collectively, we have looked at what the budget kind of meant, or the message it wanted to convey in yesterday's session, and हमने उसको brief में summarize करके we have tried to put it on a note, and I'll request Nabil to just put that link, the PDF document in the chat box of the yesterday's post-budget note. Let me just summarize the 5 key takeaways, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues. The first, before I get to the pointers, सबसे पहली बात, it was an interim budget as expected, and it didn't last beyond 55 minutes. And it clearly meant that it's supposed to be interim. So there were no major policy changes, and it also is true for direct or indirect taxation. It continued on the path of fiscal consolidation and macroeconomic stability. What are the 5 key takeaways according to us? Number 1, the focus on poor, women, youth and farmer, that continues. Clearly the message from the government is that these are the people, or the section of the society जिनको साथ में लेके आगे बढ़ना है in the sense that the larger mission of India becoming a developed nation by 2047, and that is largely the Amrit Kal that the Prime Minister has been talking of for the past couple of months. India की demography, democracy and diversity is what is in its advantage and is its strength. And इसको we have to use it to the in the larger objective of becoming a developed nation. Point number 2, the capex program is now 3.1% or 3.4% of the GDP compared to 3.3% last year. It is up 11% compared to last year, and it is about 11.11 lakh crores, which continues to show kind of continued capex. There is a thrust there. Fiscal deficit came in lower against 5.9% estimated or budgeted earlier for last year, FY24. We should be ending closer to 5.8%. More importantly, next year का जो अनुमान था fiscal deficit का, that was closer to 5.3, 5.4. But the finance minister gave the confidence that they are targeting 5.1, which was clearly a big surprise, and that's the reason the GSEC yields softened. And also, जो larger objective FY26 का fiscal deficit 4.5%, that is also intact. Number 4 is the programs on railways, port connectivity, etc., high density traffic corridors, all that continues, right? So larger focus on being indigenizations, defense, railways, capex, all that continues. Number 5, the solarization programs, renewable, larger focus on renewables, that continues, and uske under solarization, 1 crore households programs have been given benefit by giving that free electricity and 15,000 or more annual savings. And lastly, number 6, corpus of 1 lakh crore has been established to provide long-term financing for at a very low cost rate to encourage private sector to scale up research and innovation. That's the larger message that the FM tried to give by giving that to the earlier words that were established by our earlier Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. So now it has become Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan and Jai Anusandhan. That's the larger one. It was Jai Vigyan added recently, and now it's Jai Anusandhan. So that these are larger focus points that the government is trying to work around with. With that, I'll stop and I'll hand over to our BFSI specialist Franklin, and he will take you through some of the key points that were discussed around the banking sector, and post that very importantly around the infrastructure points. Over to you, Franklin.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks. So one major takeaway, as I said, was the gross borrowing number. So this number was estimated to be around 15.5 lakh crores, but it ended up coming to 14 lakh crores. So that saw yields moving down significantly by 10 to 12 basis points to 7%. And this is very important because a lot of the people who borrow from the bond markets, like the NBFCs, they are going to benefit from lower cost of funds. Banks are going to benefit from because they have GSECs, they have investments in GSECs and treasury. So their treasury gains will increase, and especially true for PSU banks who have a much higher share of treasury. Besides this, the other takeaway was that the government continues to focus a lot on direct benefit transfers. So they said that almost 2.7 lakh crores has been saved by them by preventing leakages, and this is invested in the Jan Dhan account. So it directly benefits the people at the lower end of the pyramid. So a lot of the entities who are lending to the lower end of the pyramid, they will benefit. This is largely beneficial for companies from the MFI sector and the SMB sector. So besides BFSI, I'll take you through the infrastructure sector. So one important key takeaway for infra is the capex. So that is a keenly watched segment. So if you see the capex as a spend of the overall expenses, that has inched up further to 23%. And on an incremental basis, 42% of the incremental expenditure is going towards capex. So there was a lot of expectation that the government being in an election year, the capex intensity might slow down. But we have not seen that in this case, which is a very positive boost for the infra sector. Besides this, railways has seen a good thrust. So the outlay stands at 2.55 lakh crores. Versus 2.4 lakh crores. So the government has been spending a lot of money on railways and trying to improvise a lot of aspects of the railway sector. We have seen the continuity of that. You see that now there are around 40,000 existing railway bogies which will be converted to match the Vande Bharat standards. So this essentially means around 2,500 trains will actually match Vande Bharat standards. And Vande Bharat is a very nascent initiative. Till so far we have only 41 Vande Bharat trains, and this number is only increasing, and the government has a very strong thrust on this aspect, and it will continue. And so we will see a lot of railway focused entities being benefited from this particular scheme. Another aspect what they highlighted is the freight corridors. They will be having 3 specific lines going forward, which will benefit the overall infrastructure space. So currently we have 2 freight corridors, Eastern dedicated freight corridor and Western dedicated freight corridor. Eastern dedicated freight corridor is 100% complete, around 1,300 kilometers, and Western dedicated freight corridor is also near completion, which is about 1,500 kilometers. So now the government wants to take it to the next level, and they have announced a set of 3 more freight corridors. So a lot of long-term focus has been there on the side of the government. And lastly, on the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so this scheme was started in 2015, and the government has been successful in constructing about 3 crore homes since then. So now, after having achieved almost 3 crore homes construction, they wanted to take it further, and they have said that now we will be constructing another 2 crore homes over the next 5 years. So this is going to be beneficial for a lot of the housing sector entities, a lot of the pipe companies, a lot of the affordable housing companies who are operating in and around this particular space. So those were the takeaways from my end. I'll hand it over now to Yash.
Thanks, Franklin. So I'll be covering the auto sector followed by the renewable energy. So in the auto sector, most of the announcements were on the electric vehicle side. So government is clearly focusing on penetration of electric vehicles. Hence it will extend its support to manufacturers of electric vehicles as well as also players who are developing the EV charging infrastructure. Apart from this, it is also promote e-buses to the state transport. Hence they are going to secure a proper payment allocation scheme for them. They are going to deploy e-buses under the scheme under the Seva Yojana. They have allocated 13 billion rupees. Now on the renewable energy segment, sorry, in the auto, one use the auto negative side, the FAME incentive subsidy, the allocation has been reduced by 44.5 in FY24 to rupees 26 billion versus 46 billion in FY24. And now moving to the renewable energy segment. So government is also focusing on renewable energy capacity. For this increase and enhancement of the capacity, government has rooftop solarization. With the help of this, more than 1 crore households are going to be eligible to receive 300 units every month. What will happen? The government will sell the surplus to the discom, and for this scheme, the government has decided an allocation of 10,000 crore. It will also provide viability for wind energy for wind energy offshore wind energy capacity up to 1 gigawatt. Moving to some of the announcements which were made in the PLI. There were certain changes that have been done. So in auto, as they have increased the PLI scheme incentives almost by 7-fold to 35 billion as compared to 4 billion in FY20. In battery PLI segment, the allocation has seen a steep increase to 2.5 billion as compared to 0.1 billion in FY20. If we look at the white goods segment, the allocation has increased 3 billion from 6 to 3 billion in FY24. If we look at the PLI scheme for the semiconductors, government has increased the allocation by 65 billion to 65 billion in FY24. If we look at the changes in the pharma PLI segment, also allocation is almost doubled to 21 billion from 12 billion in FY24. If we look at the allocation for large electronics, therein the allocation has increased by 36% from 61 billion 44 billion in FY24. If we look at the PLI hardware scheme, IT hardware, the allocation has increased only 6% to 76% from 700 million. Because most of the investments are expected to come beyond FY25. If we look at the PLI for food industry, the allocation has increased by 12% to 14 billion from 11 billion. From this, I'll hand it over to Parvati.
Thank you, Yash. I will be speaking on defense and healthcare as a sectors. So the interim budget again indicated the government's sustained focus on enhancing its defense capabilities. That is where we saw that the highest outlay was given to the defense sector in this budget at 6.2 lakhs crore for this year. While this was only 4.4% YOY increase and it was slightly lower when we compare it last year when it was almost a 13% increase. Now within this allocation, where the allocation primarily went, so aircraft and aero engines have seen a massive increase in the allocations, which was approximately more than 150% YOY when we look at the revised estimates for FY24. Apart from that, DRDO, the allocation has been largely maintained as stable. Additionally, there was a scheme announced which was for strengthening the deep tech technology focus to enable the defense companies and expedite the Atmanirbhar Bharat programs. So essentially what we look at, this might further increase the Indian content within the defense space and develop the domestic ecosystem, overall enhancing the national security. So all in all, we expect this thrust on the defense sector to keep continuing with higher indigenous content that the government is focusing on, and this remains a positive for the sector. So when we look at the deep tech announcement also strengthening, this aligns with the other announcement that the government made, which was specially with respect to research and innovation, where they set apart a corpus of 1 lakh crore, which was to be established for almost say 50 years on an interest-free loan. And this was to kind of encourage private sector participation to scale up their R&D and give focus to sunrise sectors. Overall, this should help strengthen the R&D at a national level and put India and improves India's potential basically as a technology leader as we go ahead. Within the healthcare space, the key announcement when we look at it, the allocation for health and family welfare was only a marginal 2% YOY increase at 90,600 crores approximately, and this was again far less than the last year, which saw an 11% increase YOY. Within healthcare, one of the schemes which has seen a tremendous increase primarily is Jan Aushadhi scheme, where the significant increase in allocation, say from approximately 115 crores last year to 284 crores. Now this is in line to the government's focus, where they are looking to push generic medicines, and should be positive for the companies who operate with a strong generics portfolio within the pharma space. Apart from it, we also saw announcement around building of medical colleges while using the existing hospital infrastructure. This will help improve the country's healthcare services while addressing concerns for skilled healthcare workforce, which is presently in shortage. With respect to taking a step ahead in their digital healthcare initiative, UWIN platform, which is specially for immunization program under Mission Indradhanush, is to be rolled out. The pilot was already on in more than 60 districts. So this whole platform basically will help in bringing a one-stop solution, where it will not only maintain electronic records for right from vaccination and immunization programs, but it also send alerts to people on the upcoming immunization program which is pending. It will help different districts and central government in allocation or better management of the vaccine distribution as well. Apart from a couple of other initiatives included encouragement for prevention towards cervical cancer in girl child, especially age 9 to 14. This is very important from an India perspective, where cervical cancer is the second most cancer found in women, and India comes to almost 1/4 of the cervical cancer deaths in the world. So this will possibly help curb this rising cases. Under Ayushman Bharat, they extended this cover to include workers from ASHA and Anganwadi, so kind of further bringing more vulnerable sections of the country under this program. And lastly, under the maternal and child health care, the schemes were brought under the comprehensive scheme, and also focus was given on nutrition and early child care. Overall benefit for OTC players and companies which focus on both these two segments. That's it from my side, and I now hand over to my colleague Kimberly.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the agricultural sector. Saw a few announcements this time. Fertilizer subsidy has been reduced by 13% budget of last year. So this is slightly negative. It is a line price correction that has happened in fertilizer. So the government also emphasized their focus on the farmers community. So there are several initiatives in that aspect. So in terms of oil seeds, strategy to achieve in oilseed, which includes groundnut, mustard, sesame, soybean. So basically, India is very import dependent in terms of edible oils. Currently, 60% of our edible oil requirement is imported. So this kind of initiatives, which involve research on high yield varieties, modern farming equipment, procurement, crop protection insurance, will sort of improve the domestic availability and productivity of oil seeds and edible oil in the country. So it sort of will protect a lot of companies from the volatility and price volatility in these commodities. Then if we talk about the dairy sector, so the dairy sector is a significant contributor to the GDP. It almost contributes 4 to 5%. So the government obviously reiterated its kind of stance on building on the existing schemes that they have in the dairy sector. So what this will do, this will again improve the productivity and the yields for the farmer, thereby improving the farmer income over the longer term. Then they also spoke about an increased allocation to the micro food processing industry. So this allocation has been increased by around 10% from the last year's revised budget. If we move on to tourism, so this is the second budget in a row where tourism has got a mention. So the government sort of spoke of encouraging states to take up development projects of tourist centers. So for this, they will provide interest-free loans to the state. Apart from this, the government also spoke about projects related to port connectivity and development of infra and amenities on islands, with a special mention to Lakshadweep. Apart from this, the government had the Udan scheme, which involves improving the regional connectivity of tier 2, tier 3 cities. So this was launched in 2016, and the government has done a lot of work in that aspect. So they sort of reiterated their stance of expanding the airport and regional connectivity in India going forward as well. So all these factors are definitely positive for the whole hospitality and tourism sector as a whole.
Okay, thanks all team members for giving that introductory commentary on the various sectors that has come out. So there are questions in the chat box. How does it affect our long-term long-term portfolio, MPO and 555, and the strategy around it. So, friends, largely the strategy, largely the approach towards long-term investments, that doesn't change. Because that all the steps that have been taken or announced, first of all, they were not as such related to changing anything drastically, but they were only given it sort of as an interim budget. तो वो जहाँ जहाँ थोड़ा फिक्सिंग करना था या allocations अनाउंस करने थे जब तक नया सरकार नहीं आती, नया बजट नहीं आता, till that time they have kind of put it across. So larger message that they try to give is that they want to take all sections of the society together in this agenda of being a developed nation. As I mentioned कि चाहे वो farmer हो, poor हो, women हो या unemployed हो, and fiscal deficit needs to be brought down gradually, not immediately. So path of fiscal consolidation वो भी एकदम clear है, तो उसमें obviously the yields have come down and that's a good sign. They have not tinkered with the rates, direct or indirect, and जो spending है towards ports, connectivity, airports, capex, and including some of the recent things जो उन्होंने पिछले 2-3 सालों में की हैं, चाहे वो टूरिज्म है जो भी रिसेंटली काफ़ी उधर एक्साइटमेंट देखने को मिला बिकॉज ऑफ द लार्जर आइडिया ऑफ प्रमोटिंग इंडिया एज अ टूरिस्ट हब. सो द केस इन पॉइंट, रीसेंट केस इन पॉइंट है लक्षद्वीप एंड अयोध्या, राइट. one is a leisure destination which is Lakshadweep, and there is no reason why some of our beach destinations can be any less compared to some of the exotic destinations like Maldives, Mauritius. And at the same time, the tourism surrounding temples and places of worship. So there also the amount of spending that can come in the city of Ayodhya because of the recent construction of temple and the airport and the connectivity that the highways and roads are witnessing in the state of UP. All that will lead to a big boost in the tourism, and typically that gives उसमें multiplier effect आता है, right? So there is a big multiplier effect whenever there is a jump in the tourist spending. So I think that those were some of the larger messages. तो हमारी जो strategy है towards our portfolio construction doesn't change too much. We continue to like pockets of indigenization. Right, let's say pockets यहाँ पे there are themes of either EV or renewables or defense, the China plus one, manufacturing India as the next manufacturing destination. ये सारी themes we continue to like, and besides that some of the pockets where they are more from a long term perspective वो है consumer discretionary, which is that per capita moving from $2,500 to let's say $5,000 over the next couple of years. And also the spaces like the banking and financial sector, as well as the capex stroke industrial stories. So I think those are some of the points. MPO में बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं बदलेगा because MPOs are not taken from we never invested in a stock keeping in mind कि budget में announcement आ सकती है और वो आई थी या नहीं आई थी. Therefore our view will not change because none of the stocks were taken from a budget perspective. So some of the stocks that are taken, some of the portfolios definitely have a railway stock, while some of the other portfolios they will जब churn होगा उनका, and we have an average churn of about 25-30% per annum, तो उसके churn में you will definitely see a railway or a defense or a India indigenization or a manufacturing name getting added there. So you'll have to just be patient around that. We're just waiting for that opportune time जब वो switch करके आपके portfolio में reflect होगा. So that is definitely something that will be done there. Chemicals, I'll hand over to Yash in a minute to give his sense on what's happening on the chemical sector and why we are not as excited or positive on it as we were, let's say, a year back. Or उसमें what are some of the things that one should watch out for, and how soon can we turn positive there. Yeah, let me just ask Yash to spend a minute or two on the chemical sector. What are some of the green shoots that he would like to watch out for before he turns positive again on that space? Yash.
So right now we are not so positive as Jasprit mentioned on the chemical space. The key reason is that if you have seen globally, the prices have dropped almost in the tune of 35 to 40%, be it any raw chemical or an spec chem or any ag chem, right? So that's a reason that we are not looking. Now why these prices have fallen? Because what has happened in 2023, post China came out from the COVID, they have started manufacturing very aggressively, and there is a very aggressive dumping across global markets as well as in India. And that's why if you'll see, so a lot of chemical prices have dropped, and there is an increased dumping from Chinese players, as well as if you'll see what has happened is even the R&D spends for Indian chemical companies have dropped significantly, as well as the capex has also slowed down because there is no demand yet, and even the channel is in the destocking mode. So what one should look for it is that the chemical prices are now moving towards stabilization. It will take 1 or 2 quarters to stabilize, and once the prices are stabilized, we expect that the demand would be back again, and China will also start consuming more and they'll stop dumping in the global markets. That would be the right time to re-enter the chemical stocks or the chemical space.
Okay, so in the larger in the long term portfolio that we have, let's say 5 Dhanwan, the idea is obviously to have stocks, certain stocks which we are looking from a 2 to 3 year perspective, and certain stocks we are taking a call from a 1 to 2 years, and certain stocks where we are taking a view from a less than 1 year perspective as well, and that is where the churn happens. The only short-term product that we have is MPO and mispriced opportunity. All the details are on the website, but the larger point I'm making is कि उसमें the recommendations are given once a month, and the mandate is to look at 6 to 12 months. And that is the only short-term product that we have. We do not have any other short-term product besides that. Besides this, as I said, railways or defense so some of the themes that are shining right now, and it's very difficult to start selling and switching to themes that suddenly are shining, because obviously we need to do our own research. We need to have a reasonable upside and meet the managements, get our queries resolved, and at the same time publish a report before at the same time before we go out all out and give a stock. But some of the themes that are currently looking good from a medium to long term perspective, and usme we have made a reasonable presence, and we'll continue to include more names, as I said in the churn. That is obviously PSU banks, public sector enterprises, that is railways, that is defense, that is as I said the manufacturing themes, the India plus one, as well as some of the niche pockets within consumer discretionary. It could be brown goods, it could be leisure, it could be holiday tourism, it could be around non-lending, and a recent change or a pocket that we have turned incrementally positive is obviously the IT sector, because IT bhi it is making certain amount of good noise because of whatever उतना positive development तो नहीं है US में, but the frequency as well as the amount of negative noise that was there in the sector in the last calendar year, that has definitely reduced, and therefore the possibility of a earnings surprise increases over the next couple of quarters. Let me just ask Parvati to talk 2 minutes on what has changed in terms of body language and the tone of the corporate India in the IT sector, which has resulted in the IT sector stocks to do so well, and also us turning incrementally positive on that space.
Thank you, Jasprit. So especially with respect to IT sector, when we look at the past 1 year, what we saw was there was a lot of noise around the sluggishness or the macroeconomic uncertainty which was happening, with even news around recessions and deflationary trends. Because in the global market, so IT sector for India especially revolves around US and Europe, and if these markets were to not do well, and that's where the sector started languishing. However, when we look at the last 2 quarters, there has been a decent improvement when we look at the deal trends. They have remained robust and healthy. So while the ramp up, which was not happening in the previous to the 2 quarters, have started happening. So essentially what we are saying, the deal wins remain strong, and the ramp up in the deals are happening. Europe has recovered more relatively better than US, where the growth is still almost flat to marginally a tad negative, whereas Europe, wherever the companies have presence, they are seeing kind of a positive sequential growth as well. So these are two common elements. However, one thing also remains that the discretionary spend in pockets has seen a recovery. So if you kind of have an exposure to retail, manufacturing, automation, transport, so these are areas where we are still seeing a recovery and decent growth. The green shoots are there. However, sectors like high-tech, telecom still remain weak and muted, and might see recovery in the next couple of quarters is what the management commentaries indicate. So these things have changed positively. Deal wins remain robust, and what also can be seen, so in the last 2 days, so last couple of days, including, you have seen results from Microsoft, you have seen results from Amazon, Meta, all have given decent good growths, and that is one reason why in the past couple of days, the sector has seen a decent increase. So yes, we remain bullish on the sector from a forward-looking perspective, where the macro trends are improving and green shoots are visible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Parvati. The portfolio construct or the strategy or the features of the product can't be changed overnight. In case anyone has any suggestion, you can obviously give your suggestion, but it's very difficult to just change the construct of and it's obviously designed and manufactured basis a lot of thinking and research that goes behind it. So I hope, Yasir, that answers your question, and it's difficult to just change it just suddenly, because everyone will have its own ways of looking at it. We do our elite conclave every year, so hopefully we should be having some one this year as well, towards the middle of the year. Let me just take. So there's this question around from Plus Smart. I don't know if that's the name of the mobile or that's a person's name, but what was the other countries' impact to India that going on like war? So I think larger question is कि war जहाँ चल रही है उसका India पे क्या impact है? मतलब as of now it doesn't look like. So both the wars, whether it is Russia or Ukraine, or it is the other one, Israel and Hamas, it seems to be the news around it seems to be not as much, because obviously intensity काफी reduce हो गई है, especially the Russia-Ukraine war. But what has clearly emerged is that the idea that the defense spending has to increase, that has clearly come out and across nations, not only in India. And at the same time, there are countries like India who want to be manufacturing some of those defense products indigenously, and they don't want to be depending on countries like Russia, US, and Europe. So us taraf there are various programs that are already there, that are there, which is promoting. We've met certain defense companies, and all of them are giving that view that it's clearly that's the program that they are. Obviously it will not happen overnight. I happened to meet someone senior in the defense over the last weekend, and they were also saying that the government is clearly putting a lot of pressure on the defense, all the three defense arms, to procure equipments or do the sourcing more in-house. But the challenge remains that overnight it's becoming difficult to do this. So they are trying to see what best can be done to achieve that. But the larger direction is clear that we need to be sourcing more in-house. Let me just take a pause and give it to Kimberly to give a quick sense on what's the commentary on from some of the apparel companies, some of the QSR companies, and whatever consumer discretionary bites that she's got in the last 15 odd days, basis the results that have come out and the con call. So the semi-consumer discretionary, what are some of the things that the managements are saying, good, bad, ugly? Just 2 minutes on that.
Yeah. So basically, we are in the middle of an earnings cycle right now, and that too post the festive and wedding season, which was very big in Q3 for most of these companies. But I wouldn't say there's like a blanket trend currently going on, because there are different segments that are performing very differently and in very contrast to each other. So across different categories itself, there is the mass segment that is seeing some sort of stress, that kind of saw a muted demand post the festive. So till the festive, the demand had peaked, and post that it slumped. But then there are higher end of the same segments like apparel or footwear that are doing better in terms of demand. So if you look at QSRs, there was a lot of stress on most of the companies. Most of the results were very subdued in terms of same-store sales growth, which most people, which the street was anticipating. Some of them were worse than what was anticipated. Recovery again is setting in very gradually for most of these QSR firms. For apparel, again the same trend. Festive and wedding was supposed to be big, which was, but then post that there was a big, there was a sudden fall in demand. But on the contrary, you have sectors like hotels that have reported phenomenal numbers. Luxury hotels that have reported phenomenal numbers, reporting their highest ever revenue profits of all time. So again, it's very contrasting in nature. So again, discretionary as a bucket, within that also there are pockets that are outperforming and pockets that are seeing some sort of underperformance, which likely will be transient in nature. So those kind of trends are still emerging. So we'll get a better picture probably 1 quarter from now. But again, things are very dynamic in this space, right? So broadly, again, no clear trend. Again, depends sector-wise, and within sector, there are certain pockets of higher end and premium that are doing better. So there's this whole premiumization trend that is going on currently. And then there's the lower end that is yet recovering because of the impact of rural demand, which has sort of slowed down. So that's one trend. So one trend is premiumization, one trend is travel and tourism. Those companies are reporting some good numbers this quarter, given the fact that it is a peak quarter for them anyway, and they have kind of lived up to it. Whereas some other companies like the apparel and footwear spaces did not see that kind of demand that was anticipated from them during the festive and wedding season.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. I will just take the last 5 minutes around questions in the chat box. So is it a good time to gradually add chemical and IT stocks on a SIP basis? Yeah, you can say that, Murtaza. So it's a fair assessment. Only submission is that IT you can be reasonably aggressive, but chemical you can go slow, because as Yash said, it is still early signs, and we don't know, given China is involved here. See, China is not involved in a space like IT, and there is no role there because they don't have the kind of presence in the IT software stroke industry that India has, right? Therefore, udhar utna challenge nahi hai. They are a large manufacturing destination, and they make a big impact in sectors like chemicals. So इधर इसलिए उनका उधर role बहुत ज़्यादा, especially on prices. So अभी जो recently results आए हैं chemical sector में, they've as expected, they have not been encouraging, and there is no reason why one should be getting very excited anytime soon. So you can do SIP definitely, but go slow. But IT you can be reasonably aggressive in terms of doing an SIP, but that's a good way to approach. Nifty at 24,000 before elections, I don't know, sir. I mean, if I knew, I would have definitely taken the position accordingly, but just a wild guess. So what I clearly know that the market from a 1 year perspective, 2 year perspective, 3 year perspective will definitely be higher. There's no reason why it should be lower. This election or next election, because we have multiple elections. So this year we have April, May we'll have central elections. Around October, November we'll have certain state elections, including the big one in Maharashtra. And somewhere around that time we'll have elections in US, and somewhere early next year or maybe around that time we'll have elections in UK. So elections ki wait na kare, this election or the next one. Larger objective should be to stay invested, look out for opportunities, and not to time the market. Market will definitely see 24,000, if not before elections, definitely after elections. That is given. Multi-bagger, yes, we look at multi-bagger stock recommendations, Dinkar Bagarji. It's just that you'll have to wait. We don't chase multi-baggers in a 1 year time frame. Over a 2, 3, 4 year time frame, you will definitely get multi-baggers. You should get it if Nifty is doing reasonably good. That's the larger mandate with which we approach. There is no promise or assurance, but that's the larger thing that we are like trying to achieve across 5 or the long term product. Yes, we do look at technicals, Amit ji, thanks for the session, but yeah, we have started looking at not recently but many months now, and therefore I'm proud to say that many of our MPO recommendations are hitting the bullseye, and sometimes as high as 50, 60, 70% also. The conversion rate has increased drastically big time in 23 and early 24 compared to what it was in 21-22. So yes, we are using technicals for MPO. It's not we are not using it. Whether we should join the market now after budget? Yes, I mean as a fresher or doesn't matter, not a fresher, you can definitely join. Electric hardware, chip manufacturing. No, I mean it's very selective opportunities are there. So one can look there. What happens to India if US defaults on debt? I don't know if US will default, then kya hoga, but I mean it has never happened basically, unless it happened before 1931. But it looks मतलब ये सवाल बहुत आता है, ऐसा नहीं कि आज ही पहली बार आ रहा है, but somewhere or the other solution is found out and they don't catastrophe आती नहीं है वहाँ पे. Pre-IPOs, yes, we continuously do give updates. You'll have to get in touch with your relationship manager and they should be able to provide updates. For deploying bulk amounts in the MF route, is it better now or should we average up? I don't know. I mean, it depends on your risk appetite. If you have less risk, you can take the MF route. If you have medium to high risk, then obviously direct equity is the route to go, and therefore that is where research and ranking specializes by trying to help in giving advice around the direct equity route. I don't have any view on LIC, and I don't think I will be commenting on stock specific because this is not the forum, and we are obviously barred by compliance. PSU stocks. We are positive, we are constructive. You will have to take your own view on basis your risk appetite, because it will obviously come with a certain amount of risk as well. Big stress on global market is expected to have a global crash. I don't know, sir. I mean, it's a very easy question, but the answer is not so easy. So I don't know when the next big global crash will come. There are no signs basically as of now. कुछ signs होते घबराहट के तो मैं आपको जरूर बोलता, but there are no signs as such which suggest that a big global crash is coming. We can't comment on Equentis wealth. You'll have to just maybe write to the relationship manager and they will help you out, reach out to the relevant person. This is probably not the forum to market our parent company. Solar and wind power, I'll probably hand it over to Yash, and maybe that could be the last question. Can we invest more in small caps? Yeah, this is important. So small and mid cap, especially small and micro cap, please be very selective, because we're almost near the bubble zone right now. So please be very selective, which means don't be chasing small and micro caps like you were doing or like we were doing in 2022 or 23. Be selective and try and have a reasonable exposure. Don't go overboard unless you have that risk appetite. आपने अगर पिछले 10-20 सालों में small and mid cap investing की है or you know the risk attached to that, then obviously you can have higher exposure. But frankly, I would suggest to have not more than 50% in small and mid cap combined. I would say 50% should be on large cap, because that will give stability and reasonable returns. Farm sector, no. I mean, there's no specific view we have. There's no specific view we have. Okay, so let me just hand it over to Yash for a quick comment on around the solar and the wind power space, including जो budget में आया उस पे is he getting more excited than he was getting day before?
So yeah, of course. So government is looking to increase their renewable energy capacity, right? So with this latest announcement which was made under the PM Suryodaya Yojana to install almost rooftop solarization in 1 crore households, right? So as per the industry expert, this could create a capacity of somewhere between 20 to 30 gigawatts. Now this is a very huge number. Itself government is targeting to have a 45 gigawatts capacity by FY28. So 20 to 30 is expected to come from this itself, right? And even in the wind sector, if you'll see in the last year itself and the current year, last year government had given out orders for almost 3 gigawatts, This year government has rolled out almost around 3.5 to 4 gigawatts, and in FY25 in the wind energy space, government is looking to give out more orders and up to 5 gigawatts. So for medium to long term, if you'll see, so both the stocks or the sectors have a huge potential because lot of ordering is been given out by the government, lot of things are happening, lot of things are picking up. So from medium to long term, of course, these sectors can be looked at and it can be a good investment opportunity.
Okay, Yash, thank you. Top three sectors which will perform in coming 3 years. Okay, yeah, 3 years is good to hear and see. Yeah, so we as I said, so we broadly like the three C's. The credit story, the India credit is back to 15%. The banking sector and the NBFC, they are growing at 15% plus. The second, we like consumption, so consumer discretionary and semi-discretionary. And the last is the third C is obviously the capex. So anything around capex, चाहे वो exports की तरफ हो, चाहे वो India trying to reduce the dependence on the imports, or it is around the local manufacturing and the broader capex story. So broader industrial capex. So these would be the three C's that I would say, and plus obviously more from a momentum stroke comeback. Pharma is definitely showing signs of that, and IT obviously has already shown and started delivering as well by giving more positive surprises than negative, as well as giving a reasonably positive commentary. So I would say, yeah, these would be the spaces on which we would be positive from, and definitely the EV, renewables, the non-lending broadly, and these would be the additional spaces जो थोड़ा long term के हिसाब से भी we would be positive from a 2 to 3 year perspective. I think with that we will close. Thank you so much for joining us today. Given that obviously we could have spent more time, but budget के अराउंड उतनी ही बातें and आगे पीछे की बातें तो we have enough other opportunities, but hopefully we should again do a similar session after some time in July or whenever the next budget is presented in the current calendar year, which will can be called the final budget for the financial year 24-25. So till then, happy investing and look forward to interacting very soon. Thank you so much.